Hello everyone, welcome to another Animation Friday. Apologize this video is being uploaded late, but unfortunately this weekend was relatively busy. So I will be uploading all of the videos that need to be uploaded today, starting off with the Animation Friday video, where I will be discussing in particular settings. Now when I'm discussing settings of animated films, I'm discussing where the story is taking place. And largely within animation, as far as television and film, largely these settings are not what you really expect when you compare them to live action. Because live action relies on trying to bridge the gap between fiction as well as some form of reality. Or maybe some kind of more futuristic reality. But when it comes to animation, you can play around with this concept of a place a lot more than really what you could do within the realms of real life. And even sometimes within animation, you see how some places, although they might somewhat resemble a town or a city, they largely, make it up as a sort of fictional place that maybe be based on something that exists within reality, but is kind of just fictionalized and, just put as sort of as the center stage of where the story is taking place. And I think, although there is this reason as to why these settings are largely different, it's largely due to the fact that it is in this animated medium. But there's also some other reasons, I think, too, why animation is put in a very fantasy-oriented setting. And that's largely to do with the fact that animation relies upon more of imagination. You're thinking a lot more outside the box when it comes to animation. You're not thinking just within the realms of reality. Because that's usually a lot of the times why animation likes to base its places off of, somewhere far away, so somewhere that doesn't maybe exist in real life. Some place that's very built on the concept of immersion into fantasy as opposed to bringing back some semblance of reality. And I think that's largely why animation within itself has focused on settings that are very drenched within unrealistic style, as opposed to live action where you really do see the detail of a building and it feels like you're looking at something that's real. Whereas when you're looking at animation, you realize that it is sort of an artwork. It is sort of a fantasy. It's not designed to be something that we would see in an actual setting had we maybe been there in that time period, if there is a different time period in which the story is taking place. So I think not only is it to the fact that that you can get away with more with an animation, but there's also this element of bringing more imagination and bringing more creative thinking to the table as far as constructing the entire universe in which the animation sort of operates in, the whole, how it all works. Because with live action, you just kind of have to put some sets up and, you have to make it look like it's in some locale. You don't really need to put in that much effort into really creating a environment. But with animation, you have to literally start from scratch and build it up by drawing it all out and laying out the foundation of where the story ends up taking place. So there's that extra effort that has to be put in. And in doing so, you create something that's a little bit more on the side of um, from your mind as opposed to from using reality and doing research and logic. So I think that's really an important thing to understand when it comes to animation, because I think oftentimes people overlook the setting of uh, animated films and don't realize how important these settings are, because they really do create a whole new kind of medium as far as film is concerned. Because, you're not constructing something from real life, you're using your own intuition and your own creative thinking to create the whole setup. So I think that's something that's very important, and I think is definitely a pivotal point that should be kind of emphasized when creating animation. And I think when you really look at the settings with a lot of animated films, they do try to embody maybe some sense of culture. Like you'll see this a lot with Disney with their settings. They're largely not within the United States or North America. They're usually within Europe, Asia, Middle East. They're and soon to be in South America, I believe, with the new Moana, I believe is what the film is called. But they really do try to bring in some culture. At least I think animation really tries to emphasize culture largely. I think that was definitely elevated through Disney, especially with the 90s films that came out that Disney was involved in. I think although some other animated studios like DreamWorks do try to kind of emphasize maybe certain cultural background or give some kind of uh, setup to everything, it doesn't seem to be as, I think, immersive into the environment as Disney's works have tried to do over the years. Um, Even if some of them can be considered maybe a little bit more Americanized um, or a little bit more on the realms of trying to be, I guess you could say, a little bit more hip, so to speak, and not feel as, I guess you could say, old. Um, but I think there is this uh, kind of idea of inserting different cultures, and in doing so, it's using that imaginative element through the cultures as opposed to just showcasing the culture. It shows in a fictionalized way and to which how the culture is sort of represented. So I think there's some parts of people that somehow will get offended if it's not somewhat accurate, I guess you could say. I think this was a huge complaint about Pocahontas, but I don't think a lot of the times Disney films, in particular animated films, are designed to really embrace the setting for what it fully is or fully was. More so to create cultural sort of imagination. And, a lot of their works are through storytelling. So when you look at a story, it's a story. It's not real life. It's not provable to have actually occurred. It's just taking something that may or may not have existed and writing it down and creating some kind of real world emotion from it. Um, so I think that's oftentimes something that people miss. Um, and I think a lot of the times that might come through the setting is and the kind of culture that's sort of represented through the setting. It's not designed to be realistic. It's not designed to give you a full educational tour of a culture. It's more so to bring out the imagination, the ingenuity, and creativity. It's not trying to be realistic. And I think that's something that people kind of miss when it comes to uh, certain points that are emphasize within these films is largely that the setting is designed to enhance emotion and is not really designed to give a realistic picture of anything, because it's based on a story. It's not based on reality. And I think that's something that people oftentimes kind of miss and kind of glance over when you just look at it through the realistic lens. You kind of overanalyze it. But when you look at animation, you almost can't really overanalyze the setting, because the setting is drawn up out of nothing, and just through someone's mind and through the creativity and ingenuity and through all of the effort put into ultimately building it up. So I think that's oftentimes something that people, I think, fundamentally miss. I think it's important, when you're watching these kinds of films, when you're looking at these kinds of television shows, to really pay attention to the setting, because the setting plays a pivotal role in really understanding the story behind where the characters inhabit. And I think that obviously goes for live action as well. But I think animation in particular, it has an interesting set of rules, because there really are no rules with animation when it comes to creating a setting. So I think that's what's great about it. And I think the more creative and crazy and unrealistic ideas we have thrown out there to the table, the more interesting and more thought-provoking animation can be. So I think that's really something that's important to note. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this topic. I think it is rather fascinating, and I would definitely, if you're ever watching any animated films, I would definitely consider paying attention to the background details and all of that, because it really does enhance the entire sort of, I guess, movie-going, TV-going experience. So if you pay attention to little things, it ends up amounting to a lot. So yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say for this video. However, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.